Oh, welcome to lunch with the cool kids. Yeah, man. Feel good. Welcome everybody to lunch with the cool kids, where I'm your host Gerald Davis. However you're listening, however you're watching this, whether you are listening to this on podcast, Spotify, and or Apple Podcasts, but let's be real, nobody's really listening on Apple Podcasts. I thought so. Turns out it's not true. All of everybody who's listening is listening through Spotify. So shout out to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, man. Come on, y'all. Listen to you, boy. Can y'all do that? So welcome to Lunch with the Cool Kids. I'm your host Gerald Davis, and I'm not the cool kid you are. And this, welcome to the lunch table. Welcome to the lunch table, where we sit around and we talk about the thises and the that's of the world, and we're gonna have a good time. Let me see. We're we're trying something new. Oh, Lawrence, what's up, bro? Hey, man. Lawrence is just a good man. He's just a good man, and we're gonna have him on the show at one point in time. Man, we ain't gonna get into that. I'm excited about the show today. Um, I'm going to talk to a amazing human being, and um, it's something that's been bothering me lately because I'm like we've already discussed. I'm already an old man, and me being an old man, I've been doing a certain thing for a very long time, and that long thing is I did a thing the other day. Lord. Okay, so let me pause right there. Sorry for everybody who's listening podcast land. So we're doing something new. We're going live on Facebook and YouTube. Shout out to YouTube. Listen, YouTube has been coming through, man. And I don't know if it's the shorts. I don't know if it's my wacky this is in the that's about the world, but YouTube has been providing the love. So shout out to YouTube. If you're not following me on YouTube, it's Lunch with the Cool Kids podcast, Gerald Davis, something like that. Um, what up? Tamisha Brandon. Oh, AKA Colorado. Y'all, I have made it a I've made it a resolution in my mind. And that resolution is, you know how you you go to school, you go to college. That's what I was trying to say. I was trying to mix school and college, and it was a failure. You go to college, you matriculate through your higher place of learning, and you grow up and like you start making more money than you definitely had in college, and you feel like that you should be an adult. Okay, I'm an adult now. So when I'm an adult, I can't say my college names anymore. When I was in college, I had I had a lot of names. I had a lot of names. I was I was Kobe. I was Juice. I was Moses. At one point, I was that alpha with the really long hair. Oh, what else did I have? What else did I have? I think that was it. I said I had a lot of names. I didn't have a lot of names. I had like four. Four is three too many for any. Oh, I had my real name, Gerald Davis, because that's me. And you get out of school, you start making money, you start being able to get cheese on your cheeseburger, and you're like, okay, well, I got to be an adult. And you went to school and made all these memories with these great people, but they only know you as the last thing that they knew you as. So it's so funny that like my friends would struggle, like, hey, they don't know what to call me. So I want to make an official announcement. That official announcement is the last thing that you called me, you can call me that. And I'm probably going to do the same thing to you. And I think that that's how it should be. We should keep the college names going until we're not going anymore. What do y'all think? We're gonna have a great show today. This is so cool. I get to interact with as y'all as I'm watching y'all. I'm reading this book. I lied to y'all. I'm not reading this book. I'm listening to this book. I'm listening to this book. I'm embarrassed to say this. Can I say, man, this is the lunch table. It's cool. It's us. So we can talk. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I'm an English major. I don't like to read. I don't like to read. You know what? As I said that, I get less embarrassed. I don't like to read. And so I had a hard time figuring that out because it's not that I don't like to read, it's that it's no, I don't like to read. I like to learn. I don't like to read. Like the idea of picking up pages and turning and making it through a page and like trying to get through a book. Like it's torture for me. And I feel like that's blasphemous for me to say as an English major because literally that's all I do is words. Don't like to read. So as I start to get older, beards start to get grayer. I start to get fatter, as we all do. I was like, man, because I retain knowledge great. And I love I love learning stuff, but just getting through the pages of a book is torture for me. I'm looking through the comments. I'm seeing if anybody else feels like that. Apparently not. You know what? Y'all leave me out here on this island. It's fine. I can survive all by myself. I'm Tom Hanks. I'm Tom Hanks, ladies and gentlemen. What was that movie? I was gonna say it was Survival. It wasn't Survival. Castaway. It's Castaway. Me and Wilson. We out here on this island by ourselves. So, as 2023 started and I was like all ashamed and stuff like that, like, man, I should probably get past this reading thing. Because like I could get, okay, my loving wife, who y'all saw last week, Trent, thank you. Thank you for not leaving me out here on the, Trent, you get some applause. So my loving wife, whom I adore, she comes from an avid family of readers. Like they'll pick up a book and like they'll like get three-fourths through and they were like, oh yeah, it was a slow start. Man, if I read a book and it's a slow start, I'm done. I'm telling you I'm not making past 5 pages. I digress. So I decided I need to be a decent human being and I need to figure out this whole reading thing. So I did what everybody else do because I like podcasts, obviously. Um, so I said, let me do what the rest of the world is doing. And I take that back. I said, let me do what the rest of white America is doing. And white America, shout out to my white cool kids, my Caucasian cool kids. That's a lot of season Ks. They've been audiobooking. They've been audiobooking this whole time and living it up. I'm not even gonna get into the cliff notes they've been hitting. Like, you know what I mean? Like they have really been changing the game on these audiobooks. So I was like, man, let me start doing this audiobook. And can I tell y'all, these things changed my life, y'all. These things changed my life. So now I've been on audiobooks and now I'm not ashamed anymore because I can read with the rest of civilization. Having said that, I'm listening to this new book. I feel so smart. I feel so learned. It's called The Fine Art of Small Talk by Deborah Fine. That's an interesting name. I should look her up and see if she is indeed fine. My guess is that she's probably not. Deborah Fine wrote The Fine Art of... Shout out to Deborah Fine. Hey, listen, I besmirched your physical appearance, and I don't mean to do that. That's not what we do at the lunch tables. I'm sure You speak of your husband all the time. I'm sure that you're a very lovely woman. I saw Fine and I took a shot at your name and I shouldn't have. So I apologize, Deborah Fine. She read this book, Fine Art of Small Talk. Come on the show, Deborah Fine. And so I'm learning so much about, because I don't know if it's just me or not. Like, I think I talk pretty well. I think that I am a decent communicator. The idea of small talk makes me nauseous. I take that back. It doesn't make me nauseous. It makes me exhausted. And then I get so exhausted. You know how you used to run suicides when you play basketball? Then you get nauseous. That's what it was. It makes me super nauseous because I get so tired. Because when you guys, just like how y'all know, y'all are cool kids. When you guys are a personality, then everybody kind of leans on you to carry the conversation. That's exhausting. So I've been reading this book. I've been listening to this book, Fine Art of Small Talk, and we should do a book club or something like that to go over these books. I'm probably not going to do it, but it's a good idea. One of the things that I picked up, and I want to pass on to y'all because it's life changing. It's a cliff note, if you will, of small talk. One of the things that she teaches us, Deborah Fine, is just changing little things in your lingo. So instead of saying, hey, you know how you talk to your kids. Kids come in, they screaming, ah, let's go, like candy, 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 Mountain Dew, Mountain Dew, Mountain Dew. So instead of them running past you, and you see them and you say, hey, how was your day today? How was your day at school today? What are they going to say? I'll give it to you. Fine. We all know it. How was school today? Fine. What'd you learn in class today? Nothing. How did you act at school today? Good. So Deborah Fine says that instead of saying, how was your day today, which kind of opens up, so what she said was, very, very smart lady. I want to look her up. Somebody look her up and see, post it in the chat, see how Deborah Fine looks. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not good. I'm not encouraging that. Instead of saying because there's this understanding that if somebody says, hey, how you doing today? How do you feel today? How was your weekend? That pretty much means that they don't care. It's just pleasantries to get on because I don't know how to walk up to you. I don't know how to walk up to you and then be like, you looked it up. Oh, I don't know how to I don't know how to walk up to you and be like, hey, I acknowledge your presence. Um, what's up? So that's what we say. We say, hey, how you doing? All of that good stuff. So instead of saying that, instead of saying, how are you doing? I'm belaboring the point. So instead of saying, how are you doing? How was your day? Switch it up to, tell me about your day. Ain't that all right? Tell me about your day. Kids come in. "Ah, yeah, we love candy. We love candy. We love candy. What's my man's name? Maddie B. Hatchet Sisters. Instead of saying, hey, how was your day? Fine. You say, tell me about your day. Makes them stop and it goes through it. And boom, there you go. Conversation. And it opens it up. Man, I'm telling y'all, Deborah Fine, man. Y'all sleeping on Deborah Fine. Fine art of small talk. Hey, let me bring our guest in. Ladies and gentlemen. So, let's talk today. While, maybe. Oh, there we go. Is it happening? It's not quite here yet. It's all good. We'll work that part out. Okay. We still doing good? Yeah, I know, right? I'm looking in the chat. Uh, my man Mike. Shout out to Mike. What's up, man? Appreciate you hopping on. Yeah, I like that. So instead of saying, "How was your day?" Tell me about your day. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, um, we're gonna bring our guest in, but before we do, I have a friend. I have a friend who um, I'd give my heart for. Like I give my brain for. Like she's one of my best friends in the whole wide world. She's been friends for 25 years. Nothing I wouldn't do for this friend. My friend's name is Amber. Amber doesn't pick up the phone for me ever. Ever. Well, I take that back. She did, but now she stopped a long time. She stopped a long time ago. And whether the reason that she did or didn't, the reason why she stopped, it's of no consequence. Um, she doesn't pick up the phone. So so I have this segment that's called let's call Amber. Let's call Amber. Will she pick up the phone or will she leave me alone? Let's call Amber. Let's call Amber. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's call Amber. Hope the whole world is listening, Amber. Will you forsake me yet again? I got nervous. I thought that was the one. It's my. And that's called let's call Amber. Let's call Amber. That segment was called let's call Amber. This is the sixth show, something like that. Hadn't picked up yet. I think we probably won't get to show number 20 before she picks up. Let's call Amber. That's my friend. Yeah, I have a thought. That thought is, you know, I've been doing music for probably as long as most of y'all know me. If y'all just joining the lunch table, welcome to the lunch table. You're having lunch with the cool kids. My name is Gerald Davis, and I'm not the cool kid. You are. Um, if you're listening, please feel free to rate this as high as you can. I don't even really want you to tell the truth, to be honest. I want you to lie as much as you can. And say it's the best thing ever. I've been thinking. I've been thinking a lot, and I've been seeing a lot of things around these internet streets. And one of those things is, um, I'll tell you what sparked this whole thing. I'm in a lot of podcast groups. I'm in this podcast group, and there was this guy, and he made this post. I think he was going for sympathy. I don't know. I don't know, but maybe he was. He probably was. And he was like, "Hey, I got this show that I've been doing for a while, and I don't think that I'm very good." It's the first mistake. I don't think I'm very good, and like I'm not really getting any listeners. Should I continue or should I quit? And of course, y'all know what happened. Y'all know what happened. So um, everybody was like, "Oh no, you gotta hang in there. You gotta keep it up, keep the dream alive." And that made me think, why do we say that? Why do we encourage people to continue things that they're not good at and that they're not getting any joy out of? Hey, there we go. Um, so I brought in one of, you know what, let me just bring him in real quick. So, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Fred Willis himself.
Good evening, everybody.
Fred, how you doing, man?
I'm doing real good. How you doing, G?
I can't complain. I can't complain. Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool kids in the chat. If y'all can hear Fred, do a thumbs up. Is that what we do? Is that what we do? Do we thumbs up or is that 2020? I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. It's the lunch table. Whatever y'all feel in y'all hearts content to do to let me know that y'all can hear Fred. Let me do that. Um, I want to talk to Fred. Well, let me say this real quick. That Fred is he's a jewel of a human being. Fred is a father. Fred Willis is a father. He's a husband. He's an author. He's a media personality. He is probably one of the coldest musicians that you're going to hear. And he's the master of the pivot. He's a genius, and I love him to death. And I wanted to pick his brain about something because he does a lot of things successfully. So, lunch table. First of all, let's welcome to the lunch table, Mr. Fred Willis.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with y'all tonight. And G, I admire you greatly as well. This is not something where I feel like I am the smartest in the room. I'm joining a whole bunch of geniuses. And specifically at the lunch table, that was a meeting of the minds for me when I was at school. So I'm honored to be here.
Let me ask you real quick. Let's go high school. High school. Were you popular? Yes or no?
Yes,
What was Fred Willis popular for in high school?
music
Of course.
and jokes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Middle school. What do you think?
um, Music, same thing.
Okay, hold on. It's getting a little. Just elementary school. What you got?
Was I popular in elementary school? Kind of mid. I was middle of the pack, but a lot of people. I had friends. I was in honors, so I had friends in honors and uh, other classes. So I knew everybody because I played sports. Sports was the thing that brought me a lot of my friends, and then music. And I in middle school and high school, I did both sports and music. So I knew a lot of people.
Man, that's a good run.
Yeah.
That's a good run. Elementary school. I don't remember. I was. I had a lot of bad influences in elementary school. To be very honest with you.
Same here. Same. And in elementary school, I didn't want to go to music. I hated music. I was your typical inner city youth. I wanted to play sports. I was pretty good, and I was going to be a football star. And did not want to go to music because I didn't want to sing. I didn't want to do all of that stuff they put elementary kids through. I didn't want to sing in the program and have the program. We all got to sing in falsetto. I didn't want to do that. I needed something that was, going to be gratifying, like sports.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so it's interesting when I talk about it now.
Okay. So I want to give you a little bit of premise about the lunch table
All
and
right.
cool kids before we dive in, and that being that actually, you know what? It kind of started as I try to discreetly move this laptop around. It's not discreet. I'm just gonna move it. It gotta started. in my whole transition from the pursuit of music, specifically gospel music, to
Hmm.
just other stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought about the industry, and honestly, I thought about a lot of the talks that we had.
Yeah.
And there's gatekeepers, and there's this, and then there's there's and what it really, to me, what it felt like.
Hmm.
Um, and this, and I say this to me because this is my particular industry of gospel music, but I think a lot of people will be able to relate to this, however, their field of influence,
Hmm.
what that is that a lot of times we're not pursuing our passions, we're pursuing approval from the gatekeepers.
Mm. Okay.
And I and as I took a step back and I was like, man, I hate how this feels. I was like, man, this kind of feels like high school.
Hmm.
It kind of feels like me being a nerdy guy and trying to sit at the table with the cool kids. And I was like, I hate that feeling, and I don't want to feel like that anymore. And that's that's how we kind of landed on the name Lunch with the Cool Kids, where like I'm the host, but I'm not the cool kid. Everybody's listening to the cool kids. We're all the cool kids.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, uh, just like the lunch table, I'm gonna ask you questions, yeah, because I mean, I'll be a terrible interviewer if I didn't. But this is more conversational. Like,
Sure.
I'm gonna throw stuff out at you, and you're gonna tell me what you think. And if something comes up, I'm gonna jump in because that's what we do at the cool. That's what we do at the lunch table.
Hmm.
And the same thing, I talk, you shut me up, and you be like, "Hey, listen, check this out," and we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
So my so I, my question is, and I wanted to bring you on because you are the master of the pivot, I think. Um, my question is for people who have been doing something or pursuing something for a very, 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 very long time,
Hmm.
and maybe they've seen the success, maybe they haven't. I don't know, but they've been doing it for a super long time.
Hmm.
Um, when do you when do you keep pursuing it? When do you stop pursuing it? Or when do you pivot to something else? So that's the premise, cool kids. That's the topic for the lunch table. But before we do this, give me a little background about yourself. We already jumped into a little bit. You came playing instruments out the womb. Pick up the umbilical cord, and you probably use it as a guitar string. So give us a little bit of background about you.
Well, I'm from Fort Worth, the great city of Fort Worth, and I picked up music at the age of 4, possibly before. I don't know. I was a drummer. I consider myself a drummer to this day. And I mean, went through life. Of course, as I said, I wanted to be an athlete, and I was a Cowboys fan, so I wanted to be, the next Emmitt Smith or whatever, whoever I could be on the team.
Wow.
And somewhere around middle school, I fell in love with music. In the 7th grade, I found a book. I was precocious. That's the word I'm going to use. I won't say I wasn't a troublemaker, but I was one of those kids. I had my teachers kind of figured out. I knew what I could do, and I would go right up into the edge of getting in trouble. I would do everything except get in trouble. And one particular day, in 7th grade, I said, can I go to the library or something? Or the teacher was like, "You getting on my nerves. Get out of here. Go to the library." Or somehow or another, I ended up in the library and I checked out a book, and I cannot remember the name of the book. If I could ever find it, I would get it and frame it.
You
But
probably
it
should
was
have just lied because
entitled,
we wouldn't have known.
huh?
I say you probably should have just lied because we wouldn't have known.
Well, it's important because in this book, it's entitled something like "How Your Favorite Songs Are Made." And now I'm an 80s baby, 90s kid. So this is 1995. I'm reading this book, possibly 94. I'm reading this book and it shows how they make records, right? So they make records, they show in the studio, they show my favorite musicians in the studio, Stevie Wonder, the Marvin Gaye's. They got the red light that lets you know that the session is live. I'm reading about all of this, and from there, bing, a light goes off. I'm gonna be the next Barry Gordy. I'm gonna be Barry Gordy. I was already digging Babyface. The next year, the Waiting to Exhale album came out, probably a masterpiece of a soundtrack. So by then, the ball is rolling to make, to where I'm going in and I'm going to be the next Barry Gordy or Babyface, whichever happens, whichever works out. And I may be fighting with my camera tonight, so bear with me. What I'm trying to use to get on is causing me problems, but
How good? It's the lunch table.
yeah, so I'm gonna keep trying it. But anyway, around then things changed. I was still playing football though, so I played football, played basketball, did all of those things, and music became my passion. That's what I pursued with everything in me from that age. So anything, I like to tell jokes. I like to have a good time. So jokes, music, um, that's me. And the church boy. Those three things kind of told my story. So that's who I am. And there's a lot in my story that kind of got me to this point. But I went to school. I played 10 instruments by the time I graduated high school.
I mean,
I
this you
went to
ready?
Weatherford College. Yeah, 10.
Okay.
I started on violin. I was a drummer. I played trumpet. From there, I went to the euphonium. From there, in high school, I started the tenor trombone. Later, the valve trombone that same year, freshman year. Then the bass trombone, and I added the tuba. And I may be missing a few in between, but that's my list. So when I got to college, I was tired of all of that. I said I didn't want to play horn ever again in life because I was a drummer. I was a church drummer. By the time I graduated high school, I had done all my stuff at church, but they want you to read music and all that stuff. And so I learned to drum music, and I got a scholarship. So freshman year, I'm doing drums, and there's a gospel choir. And so the guy who was a year ahead of me, he was on drums, and he was not sharing. You know how this stuff goes.
Yeah.
So I had to pivot. That was my first pivot. I said, I know how to play the piano a little bit. I was already playing piano. I written songs, won competitions with one of my songs. And so I said, I'll play the piano. Then I said, we have an organ here. School got a brand new Beat 3. I'm, learning the B3. So by Christmas break, a church called and they were like, they asked the guy who was showing me how to play if he knew anybody who could, come to the church, and he recommended me. And I was like, dude, I don't know how to play. What are you talking about? And so the lady called. She called 3 times, three, four, 5 times. And so by this, I was young, and I was ready to cuss both of them out. I was gonna cuss him out for giving her my number, and I was gonna tell her don't call me anymore. And so I said, why don't I just pray about it? Something like this is happening. Let me just pray about it. And I prayed about it, and I told God, after praying, I had a yes. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. I had already been playing organ at a church in the city because that church had a drummer. And so I was playing their field. So I'm like, I kind of know my way around doing everything by myself. So I told God, I said, listen, I'll go. But if this don't work out, this is all your fault. That was my prayer. And so Christmas Eve 2000 was my
In
first
Jesus'
Sunday.
name,
In
amen.
Jesus' name, amen. I was serious.
Yeah.
And so that was my first Sunday on the organ. I've been playing ever since. And not only did I have to go in and play the organ, I came in as the leader. So I was a minister of music at 18 years old. And this year will make 23 years doing that in some kind of capacity. But that was the first pivot because the door had opened that way. And even though I was in college on the drum scholarship, doors to play the piano and the organ were opening. And it wasn't until I got a hold of Isaiah 1 and 19, it was about probably 3 or 4 years later, if you're willing and obedient, you'll eat the good of the land, that I had begun to settle into just kind of seeing how the Lord would work in that way. Even though my first love musically is still drums, I have 3 drum sets here at the house. And I'm still a drummer. I can't sit down like these cats now, but that's still my first love. But the reward was not on that instrument, so I've had to pivot for a long time.
So, okay, so this is interesting because, like, I hear the tales of you playing drums and other things, but when I came into your life, it was
Mhm.
all organ and piano,
Right.
and if you've never heard, okay, so there's levels of proficiency in a certain instrument. Like you could hear somebody play, and you can like, okay, they know their scales and they know their chords. And
Mhm.
then there's another level above that, and you're like, okay, they can play the song, and it sounds pretty good. Then there's a level above that. We're like, okay, they're pretty dope, but I don't know if they can carry a service or not.
Mhm.
And then there's everybody else. You are everybody else.
Ah,
Oh, when I heard Brett, I am not everybody else. Let me tell y'all,
oh man, yes you are.
I'm competent enough to make stuff sound good, but I am not everybody else. Fred was super impressive. So I came in his life when Organ Land. So
Mhm.
just the ideal that like his whole back, it's crazy. It's crazy. Fred is he's an amazing guy. Let me ask you this. So what are some of on your musical journey
Mhm.
before you start going to other things? What are some of those key opportunities that you had and experiences?
Wow, yeah. See, I was telling you, like things kept coming up. Like people would always ask me if I wanted to join the band and play keys. I'm like, no, but let me know if you got a drummer, right? So just playing with other groups. The biggest thing I'd ever done for a long time was I got to play for Albertina Walker, Dorothy Norwood, and I am forgetting her name. She sang in the Caravans as well. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name.
I was about to say Smokey Norfolk. That's not it.
Lord have mercy, not him. But anyway, so those three, at that concert, I played drums and organ. But that was the biggest thing that I had done. I played in a number of churches. I carried a music resume for a long time, and then after a while, I was like, ain't nobody gonna be asking for this stuff. So I used to have it written down, but now it's all fluid. Just because doors have opened, I've sat down in places. I have been on the organ and somebody walks up singing, and I'm like, whoa, who is that? I just played for this person and that person. So it's all really fluid, because I'm telling you, once you go where God is leading you, man, it's stuff. Things happen faster than you can count. Things you don't even have the capacity to even pray about asking for. So it's been a lot of opportunities. A lot of great things have happened. Yeah.
Okay, so
Hmm.
and this is gonna be as honest as you feel comfortable being honest,
Sure.
because I'm gonna ask you some very intrusive questions.
All right.
Okay. So, like, you're rocking and rolling up to this
Hmm.
point. You're 20 something. Your whole life has been music. Like,
Hmm.
for the most part, like your identity is
Hmm.
what you played and what you produced.
Yep.
At what point were you like, huh, I think I can write. I think that like I do music, but like I feel like my voice has something to it. And you started going into the media aspect of your journey.
Hmm.
At what
Okay.
point was that? What point was that? And how did you feel making that transition?
All right. So in college, I started a book. Well, I can't say I was in college. I was at home. I was in a car wreck, so I came home.
I remember that car wreck.
Yeah. So I was
Oh,
at home,
yeah.
and I the car wreck kind of saved me because I don't think my grades would have allowed me another semester out there. So I was at home, and I began writing because I just wanted to get my thoughts out. And so I even started a book at like probably 20, at 19 or 20. I started a book. Just wrote it down, a lot of thoughts, kind of expressed some stuff about life. My granny died when I was 3. So it was just my mama, my auntie, and our family. We have a pretty big family on both sides. But my grandfather lived. He always lived out of the city. He lived somewhere else. He never moved here. We always had to go drive and visit him. So I just put some thoughts down, talking about life, and that was just kind of something that I did. I think we would call that journaling now, but I was calling it, maybe I'll write a book about it.
Mm.
So that was 1920. Life goes on. I'm still a musician. So I told you I wanted to be the Barry Gordy, the Babyface songwriter, producer, recording engineer, all of that. So I'm always pursuing that. Everything I do, every job has to give me time to where if somebody needs me to go on tour, I can drop everything and go on tour and not leave projects unfinished, anything. So all the jobs I worked were like menial jobs because by this time I'm playing at church. I'm doing pretty good. So I don't need 40 hours a week, but I do need some, I need money. So
Yeah.
um, jobs like that, small jobs, entry level stuff, with weekends off, of course. Every job I had to have weekends off. So anyway, things are going here, and so I kept writing. An opportunity came in 2006. I traveled to Europe for the first time. I had been to 5 countries over the extent of that tour from 2006 to 2008. And over there, I continued writing, just writing thoughts down. And because I'm a preacher, I was writing, Bible studies, sermons, writing, study notes like that, all of that, and enter MySpace. So I began blogging on MySpace, just little
Minute,
thoughts here and
shout out to MySpace real quick. Hold on.
there.
Hold on. Shout
Yeah.
out to MySpace.
Shout out to MySpace, man. It was lit. I'm one of the people who never deleted their MySpace profiles. I had a music profile and a regular profile. And darn you, Justin Timberlake and all of them, they messed up all of that stuff. I lost my songs that were on there, all of that stuff. So anyway,
And I'm sorry, let me say this real quick. If MySpace came back right now, I'd drop everything.
I did. I left Facebook for a few months about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
2019. I did. I left. And I was hanging out on MySpace, but nobody was over there. I mean, the way they set everything up, I was like, you might as well go on back to Facebook. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's like a music hub. I think they were trying to. They're going against. They were going against Reverb Nation. So
Oh
they
yeah.
were on that kind of vein. So I'm like, all right, ain't nobody coming back over here. So yeah, so MySpace, I began blogging.
Mm.
Now, here we go. By 2011, I finished college. I'm an audio engineer. Finally, dream come true. Nobody's hiring, not
Mm.
even interns. Lumina Sound, you from here? Crystal clear.
Yep.
None of the big boys are hiring, not even entry level, not even hiring mic techs to set up sessions and all of that stuff. And so I'm at home, nothing to do. I'm a musician, but you can only play at Buttons or Ovation, once or twice a weekend. That's not paying anything. So I wasn't in any bands, and man, the funds were low.
Mm.
Funds were low at this time. We had 2 kids, and the internet was off. Man, we were going through.
Shout
So
out to Rhonda. Rhonda's in the chat right now.
Rhonda is in the chat. She'll tell you. So I went to Wendy's one night, and I'm using their Wi-Fi. You got to buy something. So I doing that, and I happened upon an ad for bloggers for the site examiner.com. And so I was like, I could probably do this. And they wanted writing samples. What did I do? I went to MySpace and I
Mm.
showed them some blogs that I had written on MySpace, the analogies and things like that I was using. One because I thought I was in love a few times, man, and ain't nothing like heartbreak to inspire creativity. So I'm
Say no
writing
more.
about that in a creative way, and they're like, "Hey, you're the kind of writer we need." So it began that way. I didn't plan any of this. Everything was just maybe I should do this. Maybe I should try this. Now, once I got rolling on examiner.com, then that I began making some pointed decisions. But everything that led to that was not me. I didn't choose. I didn't go out seeking it. It's something that happened, And so I'm a believer, so I'm gonna share it from a believer's perspective. Just believe that things pointed me in that direction, and so I didn't kick against the prick.
Yeah, no, we love Jesus on the at the lunch table.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
We love Jesus.
Yeah, I speak to a lot of audiences, and sometimes you got to frame that stuff certain kind of ways, and even with some believers, man, they don't like they try to hide who he is, and I don't hide who Jesus is to me. and I give him most of the credit. I give him all of the credit, for this stuff, for the pivots, because it's him. It's the leading of the Lord that showed me the pivot to make and when to take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how everything has happened.
So when you were so you're like, okay, I'm gonna see what's up with the examiner, and then examiner like, okay, this is the voice
Yeah.
that we need. This is the voice that we want to represent us.
Hmm.
Um, did you feel like did you feel like that you were forsaking your first passion of music?
No, because I was the gospel music examiner. See,
Oh,
that's what got me. And I knew I was onto something when my first article said, "Will we see gospel music on American Idol this season?" That was
mm,
January 11th or something like that. A few weeks later, I forgot his name. He sang "I Need You Now" by Smokey Norfolk. He's already been in the
perfect.
conversation. So, but what here's something that's interesting. X Ministries, I don't mind calling them out. They took my article and they put it on their webpage and they did what they did. They do what they do. So I got hold of it and I'm in the chat and I'm going back and forth and I'm like, hey, all I was saying is maybe somebody would be bold enough to sing gospel music. American Idol is full of gospel singers. People come from church to American Idol. Maybe somebody sing. So they ran with it and talking about all this idol stuff. And I said, maybe I'm on to something. If I got their attention that fast, maybe I'm on to something. But what I did was see, and I put this line in my book, The Journey to Genesis. God wants to use the totality of your life's experiences for His glory. So as I wrote, I used information that I had from people that I met along the way,
Mm.
people like you who I had played for. I've been in the gym. We've had conversations.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I won't name them.
I mean, you cut out for a little bit. Say that last part again.
People like you, who I know, who I've worked with, I recorded with, the Pastor Chris Wesley and UDP. I use Titus Glenn. I use people that I already knew as a musician, and I just wrote about them.
Mm.
I
Let me,
caught
let me,
wind of
let me
what
say
they were
something real
doing, and I said, "Let me tell everybody else about it." And from there, mainstream came my way. Other indies came my way. I'll never forget. Benita Bellamy sent me Robert Person's music. And I was like, who is this lady and how did she get my email address? Well, after that, the floodgates opened.
Wow.
It was people, hey, can you review this? Once I did my podcast, that's another long story. I don't know if I'll get to it tonight, but once I started the show, hey, can you put this artist on the show? Can you interview them? And so, no, I didn't feel like I was leaving my first love because I had books, I had information. I knew the struggle indie artists faced. So I began putting that information in my articles. And so it was working as an elevation to the platform I already had or thought I had anyway.
So, and you're okay. So you're saying something, and I think that there's a couple of things um, that are that part of the answers to the questions that a lot of us are going to have, because I feel like that question is that sometimes we've been so loyal to something for
Hmm.
so long. Like, I've been pursuing this thing for so long. Like when they ask you in elementary school, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like,
Sure.
it's not a fair question. Like, you probably shouldn't ask a kid that, because it makes you lock on to something that you have no idea what you're gonna be 15
Right.
years from now.
Yep.
Have no idea. But if you don't have an answer, now all of a sudden you're the person without the plan, and you
Right.
don't want to be that person. So you say, I want to be a this. And
Hmm.
then because you put your word on it, now you got to pursue that thing.
Sure.
I've been going to practices, and I go to school, and I go to, private school and stuff like that. And I've sacrificed my life to do this thing.
Hmm.
And I'm pursuing this thing. And like now, for a lot of us cool kids, now we're 30 something, now we're 40 something.
Yeah.
And that thing that we thought that we were going to be that
Hmm.
at 20 or for us church kids, somebody prophesied over us that you're gonna do
Mhm.
this thing to the nations, whatever.
Yeah,
the case.
yeah,
Man, remember the 2000s? Everybody was going to the nations.
yeah. Here I am. Send me to the
To
nations.
the nations.
Yep.
Everybody was going to the nations.
Yeah.
And so we built our life around that whole thing. Like
Sure.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna pursue a career in the business sector because I want to make room for this thing.
Yeah.
And you know, and you look up and like, man, I'm 30 something, man, I'm 40 something, man, I'm
Hmm.
50 something, and whatever this thing is, it's not happening.
Yeah.
But I've given my whole life to it. And I feel like that I'm abandoning the dream if I don't pursue it as hard as I pursued it in my younger days.
Hmm.
And I think that that's terrifying to a lot of people. So we get stuck chasing something that we probably should have pivoted from a while ago.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of us are. Let me know in the chat. Thank you. Let me know. Let me know in the chat if I'm somewhere close, because I think that that's where a lot of the things that we're starting to see now, like now people are being, I mean, shout out to the real estate agents, but real estate, and then they're, they got lash companies, and then they got the wigs. It's like all of these things that
Hmm.
t-shirt line and just stuff, and
Hmm.
nothing wrong with it, but it feels like that we're trying
Hmm.
to find something, and it's scary. It's scary to do something new when our whole life has been committed to that one thing.
Hmm.
So, real quick story. So, when a couple of years ago, when I went through like my major depression,
Hmm.
and I was like, man, like, yeah, I'm done with this music thing. I'm done with these songs.
Hmm.
I'm, I'm just clocked out. And it wasn't like the ministry, or it wasn't the Jesus or anything like that. It was just that it was everything that came with the pursuit.
Hmm.
It just wore me out.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And like I started doing other things, and I found the other things were they were coming easier, and I was seeing more. And it's kind of hard to judge effectiveness, but whatever. I was seeing more tangible results in that shorter amount of time than I
Hmm.
was in like all of those years and years and years and years and years
Hmm.
of this pursuit.
Right.
And for me, I felt guilty.
Mm.
I felt like I was abandoning what God put in me. I felt like I was like, I wasted all of that time. What do you think? And
Oh
I know it
well.
wasn't right. I know it wasn't right, but that, like, I felt like that was. Can I say this? I'll say this, and then just feel free to jump in. But
Mhm.
um, I think part of the depression that came in, it was a grief that I went through,
Mm.
because anything that dies, you grieve.
Sure.
And when I was like, okay, I given 10, 15, 20 years to this thing, and like
Hmm.
now I'm throwing in the flag and saying, no mas. Like, even though I'm moving on with my life,
Hmm.
I'm in a grief process.
Sure. Well, okay, so I'll just use me as an example. Nothing died. The dream didn't die.
Mm.
It's repurposed.
Say that again.
The dream didn't die. It's repurposed. So when I started my podcast, because as a preacher, I wasn't getting preaching opportunities. I served in churches, and I was like, hey, not that I'm trying to put myself out there, but I got a little something to say. Say, let me say a little something, So I said, I'll start a radio show, that way I can do a little preaching, and then put a little music with it. So in 2012, what I was able to do, what I was able to do was start the show. But guess what? I wrote my theme music.
Uh,
I recorded it at my house. I wrote the jingle. I composed the music for the jingle. So it didn't go anywhere. It's just used differently. Now when I have these people on my show, the A-listers, the mainstream people, the people who are not even in gospel music, actors and things like that, other faith leaders, when they're on my show, when you come to listen to them on my show, you're going to hear my theme music first.
mm,
And
mm.
in that, I created a platform, if I did have music, to play my own music. So that's just me. The dream didn't die, it's just repurposed. And I'll say this: producers that I looked up to, Asaph Ward, Sanchez Harley, when I had that industry magazine in 2005 and I sent them an email, I never heard back from them. In my working in digital media, in the gospel music industry, I've had times where both of them have reached out to me directly.
Yeah.
They didn't ask me for a song. They didn't ask me for who I'm working with. Send me an artist, send me a song. No, they were engaging me on what I had pivoted to. Now, I told you I wanted to be an athlete. When I hear the word pivot, I think of basketball. Pivoting, you retain possession of the basketball, but you pivot to get either a different perspective of, let me write this, let me read my notes because I wrote this down. You pivot to get a better perspective of the court,
Mm.
or um you pivot so you can pass better, right? So sometimes those of us entrepreneurs, we have to pivot and make room for somebody else. We have to pivot to make room for another vision. We have to pivot to give our company a different voice, to learn from somebody else, or to get a better angle of the shot you're supposed to take. That's right, Michael.
Wow.
So even pivoting, I'm not dropping the ball. I'm not letting go of it. I can even fake out my defender with a good head fake when I pivot. So pivoting is not a bad thing. And as you learn to pivot, you give yourself a better chance at success. But pivoting is brought on by impedance. Somebody is in the way, something is in the way, and that's how you know when it's time to pivot. To pivot to what?
Woo!
As the Lord gives you that, you know it's time to pivot, and He's going to direct your path. Something is in the way. It's an impedance.
Woo! Hold on. Hold on. You know it's time to pivot when something is blocking your path. My Lord. My Lord.
I
Oh,
don't listen. I'm gonna give you this, and then I'm gonna yield in this moment. The children of Israel on their way to the promised land, on their way to the promised land, y'all. This is in Joshua, the straight path. Everywhere they went on the straight path, they had a war. The Lord says, "Don't go the straight way. Don't go the way everybody else is expecting you to come, because they're waiting for you. Go around the other way." Now, what was around the other way? The Jordan. The Jordan at that time, listen, it was muddy, overflowing, but that's what got them to Jericho, where they faced another impedance, that wall. So, listen, if you follow the Lord, the pivot is you can live. You can live it, and like Michael is saying, listen, you keep that 1 foot firm, but you're able to move. You're able to see things. You're able to get some of the shots that we're trying to take. We can't take them.
so
You
it's
know.
two things that you said. It's two things that you want to say it. And I'm still processing. Oh my God. Man, I hope y'all caught that. I hope y'all caught that. My Lord. Um, Fred, jeez, man. Lord. So the pivot isn't necessarily a giving up of the thing.
No, not at all.
It's a redirection.
It's a redirection.
It's a redirection.
Yep.
Let me ask you this,
Hmm.
because let's be real. Let's be honest at the lunch table. Um, when do you need to stop? When do you need to stop? Because there are times where what's happening isn't working.
Okay.
And when do you redirect and when do you stop? I have a theory. I have a theory.
Hmm.
Um, Grace follows destiny.
All right. Yep.
Um, what and I'm not saying that you don't work, because even in harvest time, you still have to work to bring in the harvest. So you'll never there is never a situation where you won't give energy.
Hmm.
But when you're going where you're supposed to go, when you're doing what you're supposed to do, um, you have resistance, yes, but there's not tension to do it. Like there's not every door is closing, you're frustrated, you're not good, people aren't receiving. All of these things are saying that what you're doing is a is a labor for you and it's a labor for people receiving it.
Hmm.
Like at that stage, um, you're not being you're not being fruitful and you're not talented. You may just not be talented in the thing that you do.
Okay.
And it, I, we're church kids, so I think the easy example is the worship leader, the singer.
All right.
Like you can love to sing, you
Hmm.
can like you study, you hear all the song, all of that good stuff, but every time you get up, you struggle with notes. You can't land, run, you're off key,
Hmm.
and like people aren't receiving you well. Like you're not doing well giving it, and people are not doing well taking it. Like
Hmm.
at that stage, if you're not getting better and you're not seeing any results, I mean, I don't mean like little results, I mean nothing. Like it's
Yeah.
just worse and worse. At that stage, you should probably stop because
Okay, we're not talking about a pivot then. We're talking about a pass. You
we're
don't
talking
need the
about
ball in your
that.
hands anymore. That I mean, just legitimately there, you don't need the ball in your hands anymore. And that's fine because sometimes we have done it. We've chosen, we thought we were called to do something that we're not called to do, and that's fine. People may have put us there and we talk in church. I mean, it's so easy to get, to misappropriate the laity in the church. I'm gonna put you in charge of it because you show up every Sunday. That don't mean you called to that. You just here every Sunday.
Yeah,
You know. Um and so in we talking past. Get out of there. If you're not functional there, if you're not successful in that thing, if you are not proficient in that thing, it's time to really consider giving that thing up.
you got to be proficient. Proficient is the word.
And sometimes, that's letting you know that you need to let it go because you're wasting your own time.
Yeah,
Because there could be something else you do well. And I tell people all the time, find the thing that you do well. Some things the Lord will send us in, and we got to hammer that thing out, right? Like we working out our soul salvation. But there are other things. Listen, it's not that hard. It's not for you. I tell people at the church where I serve, listen, everybody can sing, but not everybody can sing in the music ministry.
yeah,
I might need you to sing on the back door. I might need you to be the person. I need you to be a hype man in the pews. Amen.
yeah.
I'm giving you Thursday off. Don't even worry about it. You just show up Sunday and you grab what we singing and you spread it like wildfire. That's your job.
But you know what? That's
But
a whole different conversation in
it
the
is.
in the church, because I've always felt like in the church we only have like one or three paths to send people on.
Right.
You're either going to be a preacher, or well, you're going to be a pastor, you're going to be a musician, or you're going to be a deacon or something like that, somewhere there. But if you have any other gifts, then
Hmm.
it ultimately has to lead to one of those three things, or it's not from God. What if the person who can't sing, and I hope this helps the cool kid who can't sing in church. What if the person who can't sing in church is the best sound tech this side of the country?
Hmm.
Or like, it's not from God. Sound. If you spend if you if you if you take time to go in the path of least resistance in what you're able to do, you'll probably find more joy there. You'll probably find more joy there. But all we know is, hey, you got to sing or you got to preach. That's the two things that you got to do in church. But you may be able to design the mess out of a flyer, and you could be the graphic design guy for the nations. You know what I
Sure,
mean? But
sure.
go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's on leadership at the church. It's on leadership and it's on the people because you got to know what you're there to do. Last week I taught a lesson about Paul. When Paul stands up, he said, "I done had it with the Jews. I'm going to the Gentiles." And we not for everybody, and we got to be cool with that. I'm not for everybody. I'm not for everything. And even in the industry I'm in, we don't all do the same thing. And those of us that do the same thing, we don't all do it the same way. And guess what? I'm all right with that. That's why I am a full-fledged journalist. I write and I do radio. Most of my colleagues only do radio. So I mean, it don't take long for me to see that line of demarcation. And I'm different. I'm different. I don't announce like everybody else. I didn't go to school for radio. My colleagues are people who've been doing this as long as I've been doing music. There's a guy, one of my colleagues, man, he been doing radio since as long as I've been alive, 40 years, 41 years this year. And that's a colleague of mine. So listen, everybody ain't called to do the same thing. We not carbon copies. We don't get saved to do the same thing. And I'm sorry, listen, if you watching me and you in one of those situations where you functioning in something that you're not called to, you functioning in something where you're not effective, pray about how to get out of that thing and ask the
Yeah,
Lord to lead you into what it is, whether you at church, whether you at a secular job, whatever it is, because you're wasting time. You're wasting time, and none of us have time to waste. We survived the first part of a pandemic. We're not out of it yet because we haven't been cleared by the World Health Organization. But we survived 2020, 2021. We don't have any more time to waste. So find that thing. And as far as the path of least resistance, sometimes that can be deceptive because sometimes there's resistance because it's trying to keep you from achieving what you're supposed to achieve. And that's another thing we talked about in our conversation about gatekeepers is that there are some people who literally set themselves up to block you.
yeah.
But you got that's when that pivot comes in and you work around
But
and
but
have
what I
success.
say the path of least resistance, I mean, your path to do it.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Like your path to do it. Like if
Hmm.
somebody has been trying to learn how to play the piano for 20 years and they can't get past four scales, then you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
but at the same time, if that person picks up, I don't know, if that person picks up a camera and they take the best pictures anybody ever seen, like in
Yeah.
3 weeks, like that thing comes easier to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That may be the thing to pursue as
Mhm.
opposed to, well, hey man, I'm gonna play this piano and it's just going, hey,
Yeah, I'm learning that too. At 40, I'm finally humble enough to ask for help. Listen, I was telling my wife last night, I was riding home. I said, I'm gonna find me some people, some musician friends, and I'm just gonna call them if I can't figure it out. I ain't gonna hammer it out. I ain't gonna waste time sitting at the keyboard. Hey, how do you play this? Cause I'm gonna be able to play what they tell me to play, but
man,
my ear ain't giving it to me. Okay, I'll even read sheet music now. For years, I didn't want to read sheet. Give me that sheet music. I listen to music now when it hits the radio or when it comes to me, and I'm saying, I hope they have sheet music for this because ain't no way I'm finna sit there and try to figure out what the sound engineer did. He did,
Yeah,
season,
I
all
ain't got the time.
that stuff. You can't figure out what people doing, what they saying. I ain't doing that. Give me that sheet music, or a lead sheet. So yeah, I completely shifted on my view on that. I'm asking for help. I don't care what it is.
Man, can I tell you that so my my first album in the Shepherd Field, it was terrible.
Mm.
Like it was not very good. Uh it was
That's
not
right,
very
Michael. Help, help me.
and the reason that it wasn't very good, it wasn't that well, I'm not gonna get into all of that, but the
It
songs
was
were
good.
solid.
I played on
Yeah.
it.
The two songs that you did, it was great. Can I tell you something? So one of the highlights of my musical journey is like honestly, and y'all know this if y'all from Texas, if y'all from the Metroplex, DFW specifically, y'all know what I'm about to say. One of the highlights for me in my musical journey was being on Homegrown Gospel
Oh yeah, I remember that.
with Carmina Barnett. Like
Yep.
man, and you actually was the plug. You were the plug.
Yeah.
Jewel of a Soul. So um one of the songs that I played there, um, yeah. Um, yeah, man, Fragrance Love, man. I told
God
y'all,
bless you,
Fred,
brother Fraser.
I told you Fred was the truth. One of the I had a new song at the time, Can't Contain My Praise. Super dope
Hmm.
song.
Hmm.
And she was like, I want to play some more stuff. Do you have another song? So I gave him I Can't Believe Your Grace.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Can't Believe Your Grace. And she was all like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. This is such a great song. You know, all of this good stuff. Just great."
Yeah.
And which it is. Um, and the funny part is that I gave her that song like maybe 8 years before that,
Hmm.
and she didn't give it the time of day. And there was a lot of
Yeah.
reasons. It was my fault because like the way that I presented it to her and stuff like that. Packaging matters,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
but
A few other things that I'll tell you off the air.
okay, okay.
Yeah, a few other
I'm sure the
things I
cool
have to
kids gonna want to know, but hey, I
tell
feel y'all in.
you. Well, Solomon said it best, and I'm not putting it on this particular case. Money answereth all things. Amen.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So
Not in that particular case, but in some situations, money answereth all things. All right.
hey, I didn't say it.
I listen. I
Yeah.
just said what I said. Okay.
Okay. So so I said all that to say that this was the same. I can't believe your grace that she played in 2019, 2020, whenever it was, that we recorded in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
The quality didn't change. It was just the presentation. So I said that to say that like you have always been you've always been solid. The rest of the album was terrible. And the reason the rest of that album was terrible, it wasn't because of the songs. It was because and man, hey, listen. I did not understand that I needed to trust people that were better than me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I start putting all of these pieces in place that I thought would work because my genius was going to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
like every other arrogant musician in the world. And I just had a bunch of average people doing average things. And when you got average people recording average stuff, it turns out average. That's the truth.
Yeah.
That's just the truth. Um, so that was one of the lessons that I learned this time around.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started recording these songs, and man, when I tell you like these, man, listen, these, it's a song right now. The song right now. What's the name of that song? Let It Rain. Go listen to it
Hmm.
right now.
Hmm.
Stop what you're doing. Let It Rain. Spotify, Apple Music. Great song.
Yeah,
What
y'all check
happened
it
was,
out.
oh yeah, can't stand my praise word. Yeah. But what happened was that I took my ideas and I put it into the hands of people who were better than me,
Yeah.
and then I trusted them, and stuff came out fire, man. So to your point, when you when you relinquish control of stuff and let everybody get in, like it just makes everything better. If you're not talented, don't do it. If you're not talented, that's hey, that's I think that's the takeaway. Find something that's oh, so do you get songwriter credit? Oh, that's another conversation, Mike. That's another conversation. It's a work for hire situation. So you pay them, they compensate you. So Fred,
Yes, sir.
people are gonna be like, hey man, they talked for an hour and 17 minutes, which is an incredibly long time. Um, the cool kids need some takeaways.
Okay.
What you got? When do you, let me ask you, so I'm gonna rapid fire these questions for you. When do you stay the course? If you've been doing something for a long time and you're feeling frustration, when do you stay the course?
You just stay the course naturally. uh, don't quit. You know, tough times don't last, but tough people do. You know, so we
When
got
do
that built
you
in.
when do you pivot?
For me, my experience was not that I had to decide to pivot. It was like me. Let's come back to. Uh, let's go in Atlanta. I'm shouting you out tonight in the A. I'm
Appreciate the
on.
love. Y'all see the hat, man? Listen, y'all see the hat?
God is in Atlanta. So let's say I'm here in Atlanta. Atlanta. I gotta say it like this. Atlanta. So let's say I'm riding down 95 South, or is that Florida? I'm,
85,
I,
close.
I can take 20 into Atlanta,
Yep,
right?
yep,
But as I did when I was driving in Atlanta in October, I think it was, and I was supposed to get on 440, and I was on still on I think 80 or whatever.
yep.
Uh, when it's time to pivot, you'll listen. You won't have a choice.
Wow.
Pivot was survival for me. Pivot was survival. And it's like driving down the highway and you trying to go straight, and the straight road turns into an exit ramp.
Mm,
It's organic. When we say pivot, that's organic.
yeah,
It's not something that's earth shaking. Now it'll shake you up if you don't.
yeah.
I do need to let you know that it'll shake up everything you got going. But the pivot is for survival. The pivot says take this and do it this way.
That's good,
2020
man.
came. 2020 came. And all of our churches, not all of them, a lot of them that would never stream, what they do? We got to find a way to reach the saints at home.
Didn't they call this the devil? Before
They wouldn't get online. They wouldn't spend the money for the gear. But guess what? A lot of them that made it through, like me, I didn't start streaming until the pandemic. Guess what? I already had everything right here at the house. Same thing happened when I started my podcast in 2012. The Lord told me, He said, you have everything you need to get started.
mm,
Everything you need. In 2020, I already had iRig. I had an iRig. I connected my microphone. I already had a video microphone. I had everything I needed right here in the house. Didn't have to go buy anything. And iRig shut down for about 6 months. They didn't make anything new. So if you didn't have it, you weren't getting it. So the pivot is not earth shaking or earth shattering, but you get earth shaking results when you make it.
let me throw this in here real quick. Yeah, ain't it funny how um for those of us cool kids who love Jesus and all he got going on, if all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are the called according to His purpose, ain't it amazing how every experience that you have kind of preps you for where you need to be. It's amazing.
It
Oh,
is. It is. God wants to use the totality of your life's experiences for his glory. It's no secret. That's why we've experienced what we've experienced. By the time you come all the way into this pivot that you're in right now, music is gonna circle back around.
yeah. And you know
And
what's
and
funny?
it's not something for you to think strange or even fight it. Well, I don't know why am I hearing music? Listen, if God wanted me to stop making music, he wouldn't give me songs in my sleep.
Yeah, that's
If
good.
he wanted me to stop music, he would have taken it from me.
That's good, man. And and so two things is that what up, Tim? Um, two things is that what I've discovered is that I'll get to that later. But when when Moses was at the Red Sea and he was he was stuck between a rock and a hard place, literally. It's amazing that um, God asked Moses, "What do you already have in your hand?" It's the funniest thing that things that we thought was, didn't have as much significance end up being what God uses the most. What do you got in your hand? I got this staff. Oh, so that's one thing. Second thing is Fred's Texas connection is starting to come back. Um, another thing that another thing that Fred said that I thought was just genius. Oh my God, is that a pivot is not a giving up. A pivot is a redirection. Like I really went into this whole show thinking like, the takeaway was gonna be you gotta know when to know when to drop the ball and go the other way.
Know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. But it's not it's not necessarily that all the time. It's a you can pivot and go do something else and then stick that thing in your back pocket because it's gonna come back around later. Right? That was man, that was genius. I got one more, and let me see. Are you still here? All right. I'm gonna say this, and let's see if Fred comes back in. I feel like I'm gonna ask this question, then like he's, he's not gonna be here. Um, you got to know when to hold them, got to know when to fold them, and yeah, I mean, I agree. I 100% agree that you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them, and I think that like one of the struggles that a lot of us are having is that we don't know when to fold them. We've been holding them too long, and you only got a club and a three, and we still trying to make this club and three work. Oh, there we go. There we go. Great.
Sorry, I was having some issues with my computer, but I heard everything. I'm with you.
That's that
Hold them
spectrum,
and fold
man.
them.
Fred. So,
Yes, sir.
my last question is, how do you know when to stop?
Man, this is a circular conversation because I haven't stopped yet.
But the cool kids at the lunch table gotta know. They gotta go away from this conversation knowing when to stop. And no pressure, but
Yeah, I mean,
whatever
if
your
I'm
answer
going
is, that's what
based on my experience,
they okay.
based on my experience. Oh man, I'm a man of faith, so I always hit when God tell me I'm done, I'm done. And I say that because I've made it my prayer to start asking God that.
Mm,
God, the listeners ain't coming. Am I wasting time and money? I began praying about that stuff. So then it's not me just doing something because I want to do it. I love interviewing people. I love being on the red carpet. I love those pictures. It's not even taboo to take selfies on the red carpet anymore. It used to be, and so now I get to now I get pictures with people that I'm a cool kid. Whenever I post my pictures, people are like, hey, look at Fred, we see him with this person. Yeah, but I
Hold on
said,
real quick.
listen,
I know you're not going to do it. I know you're not going to do it, so I want to do it for you. Where was the last place that you was at? Well, no. What was that place before last that you were at?
in Phoenix,
What was happening in Phoenix?
the Super Bowl is now the soulful celebration.
Y'all, that's what Fred's doing out here. I'm just saying. All right, go ahead. You ain't going to say it, but
I got to talk to your boy Israel too.
man, did you?
Yes, yes. I'll tell you. But I asked him a question, about right now. I asked him, I said, hey, now you're in the seat of Andre Crouch, you're in the seat of the Hawkins, you're in the people in the seat of the people, that you listen to. Now you're a pioneer. And so I got to ask him about that. I got to put my interviews up. Don't tell anybody yet, but I had some good ones.
Nobody's.
But listen, this thing is fluid. There are some things. Every show is different. The space on the carpet is different. There were some shots that were a little too tight. I didn't want to put those up. Those will probably be audio, and not video. But listen, when you'll know when it's time to stop when the Lord when He pivots you away from it. I'm telling you, that just came to me. That's why I'm laughing. If you know, because I'm a man of purpose and destiny. I believe with my whole heart that we're going to do. We should be pursuing what we were created for, and I feel that I was created to do music. I feel that I was created to do media. I feel that I was created to do this speaking piece, and so I'm pursuing that. And everything is not there. I mean, if I did a Donald Trump and showed you my returns, listen, I haven't made the money that somebody might think I made. I don't be fronting, but this is not lucrative for me. It's not lucrative for me, but I know it's working to another end. That's why I'm still at it. But I even pray about profitability, and that's a good thing to know. Am I in this for profit or am I in this for purpose?
Yeah. And that,
because that'll help you. Because if I was in this for profitability, I would have quit at the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I would have just tossed it all into the pandemic, stole my business. Let me get a swan song out of this. We don't know what the future's gonna look like. But if I'm in this for a purpose, then I got to go to Philippians 1:6, that he who has begun a good work in me is going to work it and perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. Whether we're talking about salvation or whether we're talking about this thing that I've been called to. And I'll say it like this. Paul says, I press. He says, listen, your work is not in vain in the Lord. And I don't want to spiritualize this because I'm a believer, but I don't want to spiritualize this. Paul got his marching orders directly from Jesus. In the book of Acts, Paul details talking to Jesus directly. Paul is an apostle because he spent time with Jesus after his conversion. All right, I'm not on here to preach, but a lot of us are pursuing things, and we do want to know, when do I get to quit? When do I'm doing this thing and nothing is happening. Listen, the day you quit could be the day somebody comes looking for you. So I'm not going to tell you to quit, but I would say that you need to get real about it. Here's some good advice. I guess I can finally answer your question. I've been trying not to, but here's what I would say. Get realistic about what you're doing. What works? What does not work? What is letting you know that you should try something else? Like John Gray said on that Kurt Franklin New Nation skit with Keisha Grandy, if at first you don't succeed, give up, try something else. You'll know about that, and be real about it. Even ask yourself, what do I want to get out of this? What do I want to get out of this? How far away am I from doing this? How far away am I from achieving my goal? See, these are realistic things. Get realistic about it. Appraise your business. Appraise your whatever you're doing. Gerald mentioned singing. Am I effective in singing? No. Do I need to pass the mic? Maybe. I saw a post today that said there are some preachers who should be administrators, and there are some administrators who should be pastors. You know, so am I even functioning in the right function? Am I in the house but in the wrong room?
Ooh,
You know,
ooh, man. Okay, um, so I spent a lot of time in San Diego, 8 years, and I heard a lot of my
Mad City, Michael. He talked about Mad City. Yeah, he sure did.
mm, um, and I heard this analogy, and this was from the my Caucasian cool kids from the CCM side of the fence.
All right.
Um, well, wasn't a lot of sweating, wasn't a lot of hooping, wasn't a lot of all of that, but
Sure.
it was just good. Just what it was. Said at the time, Aaron Rodgers wasn't a jerk. He was still we didn't know yet.
You're right, right,
We
right.
didn't know, and it was like, how good is Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers is absolutely the best. One of absolutely the best. What if you took Aaron Rodgers and put him at center? He would be absolutely the worst.
Right.
What if you took Odell Beckham and put him at on the D line? Would not be effective at all.
At all, yeah.
You can be 100% talented, but in the wrong spot.
In the wrong spot.
And I think a lot of us are feeling frustrated because we have talent, but we're in the wrong spot.
Wrong spot, yeah.
You're on the right team, you're just on the wrong spot.
Wrong spot, yeah. In the wrong position.
And we can't be so loyal to the position that we mess up the team trying to stay in the position that was given to us. I think that's for me, that was one of the things that it was like, okay, like I'm on the right team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Am I in the right position? And then once you start really doing those self audits, you're like, okay, well, I mean, yes, I'm okay at this. Um, I used to call it the power spot. Are you in your power spot?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's one thing, like you can do this and you can be competent, but are you at your best? And once you start seeking out what your best is, like for me, like I mean, um, what I discovered, and it's so funny that like you talk about how everything kind of loops back around. Like now, my man, I feel like, you know, very humbly, these are the greatest song that's ever created. it's it's ever created. Y'all are gonna get
You're
y'all.
supposed to feel that way. You're right on par with that.
Y'all gonna
Absolutely.
get yourselves a great album, but I don't think that that would have came until I was freed from the pressure of trying to impress the people that matter, quote unquote,
Yeah.
the cool
Yeah.
kids. So I've discovered that it's not necessarily my gift was like the songwriting or the gift was the music or the gift was the presentation or anything like that. The gift was communication.
Yes.
And so I can do a podcast
Mm-hmm.
and communicate. I can do a blog or you know what I mean? Like I can do a YouTube channel, I can do music, I can do all of these things. And it
Right.
still falls under that umbrella
Mm-hmm.
of it's still the calling, but it's
Yeah.
not as narrow as this little piece over here.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think a lot of us we get stuck on that little piece that
That
we
only one
dedicated
thing. Yeah.
our life to, but that just may dude, it may be a little piece. There was one because I was always afraid of preaching. I was always afraid of preaching. Um, and it wasn't that I was because it wasn't that like I couldn't put a sermon together or I felt like I didn't have anything to say or something like that. It was just that I I held the office in such a high esteem that
I
I
got
didn't
you. Yeah.
want to mess it up with my terrible life. You know what I mean? But I
I
was
get
talking
you.
to, I was sharing this with somebody. He was the worship pastor. Shout out to Anthony Farrell, all the way from Britain, and and I was sharing this, and he was like, "Gerald, bruv, listen." The accent. It's my terrible British accent, by the way. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't offend anybody. I said, Gerald, bruv, listen. the preaching, it doesn't have to be everything. It's a quiver, it's an arrow in your quiver
Yeah.
that when you need to be used or when you need to be launched out, you just pull that arrow out and use that. You should be
Right.
very grateful that you have that arrow,
Right.
but you don't have to let everything else go because of that arrow.
See?
Yo,
Well,
yeah,
you said that grace follows destiny, or what
grace
is that how
follows
you said it?
destiny.
So maybe, and we talking about when you know to stop, or put a thing on pause, or shift the deck a little bit when the grace ain't there.
When the grace ain't there,
You and I are
grace ain't
both
there.
musicians, and there are days when I don't feel like playing. I'm on call to play. It's my job to play. I'm the leader, and there's days I don't feel like it. And but it's days where I feel I got a fire to teach,
Mm,
and I keep saying, "Okay, now God, you ain't taking nothing away." But there's a my spirit and my soul got the message. There's a shifting happening.
yeah.
So, as I put in my book, The Journey to Genesis, don't miss the shift. Don't miss the pivot when it's time to pivot. Because when the grace lifts off one, it don't mean you losing it. It just means I'm ready to do something in this other area. That's what you just said.
Mm,
So that's my final answer. When the grace lifts, once you have your audience, are you still connecting with your audience? Sometimes you need to change it. You need to upgrade your message. You got an audience, but you're losing them because that's not it anymore.
wow.
So yeah, that's when you stop. When the grace is off of that, go where the grace is. But
Go where
pack
the
that up
grace
with you.
is.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, did we not appreciate Fred for showing up at the lunch table? My Lord. You gotta.
Y'all some cool kids, man. I love hanging out with y'all. My
Oh,
kind of people.
dude, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Man, this is gonna help a lot of people. This is gonna help a lot of people. Yeah, man, it helped me. Because I'm ready to tell people to quit real quick.
And some people need to. You need to go on. You should have never been doing it. You should have never been doing that. This is your opportunity. Listen, these opportunities do come. When you say, "Listen, I'm ready to put this down," I just don't have it. I never had it. And for some people, it is true. And be bold enough to do it. If this is your season, you feel that tug. It's time is up. Time is up.
Yeah,
Listen, that's a narrow message for some of you watching, some of you listening. You were never meant to do that. You were never meant to be there. You were never meant to be in that position, that role. Come on, get out of there and leave with your dignity. Leave in charge. You be in charge of the pivot. Instead of them walking you out. Sorry, brother, sister, your season is up. No,
don't
I
be
realize. You know,
don't be pivoted out, ladies and
yeah,
gentlemen.
yeah.
You control the pivot. Now, Fred,
Control the
where
pivot.
can we find you?
You can find me online at www.whoisfredwillis.com. It's a site that I'm currently rebuilding. I'm actually rebuilding all of the sites that I own: SPR Jams, SPRadioshow.com, MightyRead.com, where you can find all of my books. And this will go out as I'm doing this. Um, you can find me at all of those. You can see some
We can still hear you.
that I do at soulprospermedia.com. www.soulprospermedia.com. You can see some of the articles that I've written, some of the stories that I've covered. That Super Bowl Soulful Celebration coverage is coming to the website soon. You can see it there. Willcom.net if you need any press work, if you need press releases, if you need any articles written about you, if you need ghostwriting. I have a few ghostwriting clients. I talked to one yesterday, and they were so complimentary. It just made my day. If you need to contact me any way, that way you can do that. You can follow me on Facebook at Fred Willis. That's all you gotta do. Instagram, who is FredWillis.com. You can find my other handles there on Twitter. I'm still on Twitter at I Know Gospel and SMG Music Media. You can also follow me on Instagram at that handle too. But that's how you can hit me up. Hit me up, shoot me a message. Let's rap. Let's continue the conversation, or let's start a new one. I'm always talking. Let's talk.
Please do. Fred is he's a resource. Fred is a he's a resource. Every time we talk publicly, I want to let you know how valuable you are to our generation and how important you are to my life. Like your voice matters so much.
Oh wow,
Your example matters so much, and it leads the way for a lot of people.
wow.
So I will always, always, always acknowledge you and thank you for your friendship and your exampleship, man. You're just a jewel. You're just a jewel.
Hey, likewise, man. I'm glad to be connected with you. We grew up in the day and age, man, where if you saw somebody doing what you did, they were instantly a competitor. And I
Mm.
know for me, it took me a while to kind of put that down and really just understand that, man, you were a brother. And the Lord, I didn't have any natural brothers, but the Lord showed me how to be a brother and how to be brothered. And you are one of those people who showed me that how to be
Mm.
brothered and how to be a better brother, how to be a man. I love what you're doing. Oh, why am I losing it? You can still hear me, so I'm gonna keep talking.
Go ahead.
We talk about a lot of things, and so I just appreciate the camaraderie. That you consider me a friend. That means a lot to me, and I'm not trying to what you said. I received that heartily, man. But sometimes we just got to do better about saying this stuff. We got to do better about saying this. I don't want to pass away and have a whole list of stuff that I should have said. It'll probably be written down somewhere, but I want to say it while I have the chance and bestow the honor. And I want to tell you this: I want to see this thing grow. I don't believe that you're kind of feeling your way through right now. I feel that you are on your path right here,
Wow.
doing this, and so I want you to lean into this, and I want you to just kind of go this way. I know you do a lot, but you own to something right here. You are a communicator. You're a preacher, but you are a communicator, and this is working.
Mm.
Whether you see the results you're looking for now or not, okay? I can tell you a thing or two about having only a few people on, and I can tell you another thing about it only looking like it's only a few people on. But you own to something here, and keep it up, man. Keep it up. Keep it up. You already there.
I,
All right.
and I receive it all.
Receive that, brother.
I receive it all. So y'all know he gonna come back. So that's not even a thing. But y'all, it's been I heard the lunch bell ringing. It's time to go back to class, y'all.
Time to get back to class.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I'm about to sign off, and I mess this up like every single time. So I think today, I think today is the day where I'm gonna nail this. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Gerald Davis. This has been Lunch with the Cool Kids. Once again, I'm not the cool kid you are. I want you to go out and change the world. Don't let the world change you. Before you leave, y'all make sure y'all rate this thing. Give me a great. I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna mess it up. I felt it slipping away. I felt it slipping away. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all, by episode 20, I'm gonna have that down. Either way it goes, you go change the world. Don't let the world change you.